Greetings, fellow idiots, and welcome to another session of Tea and Ye with myself and Max. Today, this morning, Saturday morning, the 7th of September, we are tasting this thoroughly delicious tea from Curious Tea. Look at the lovely little packages that they arrive in. I've just found this company. They're in the south of London, and I adore them already. They are so cool. And what we are drinking today, well, what I'm drinking today, is their Bingdao Sheng. Sheng, we're going Sheng. Yeah. We're going Sheng. Sheng Pu'er cake. You know, if I could go back in time and tell my tea experimenting idiot of a few months back who was, you know, really getting into various types, but not yet the Shengs and not yet the shoes, right? The Shengs and the shoes are sort of the end of the road. They're the end of the road, folks. It's like you've tried all the others, you've enjoyed all the others, but you're like, what's next? And it's like the peak. It's the Himalayan peaks of Sheng and Shu. That's how it seems. That's how it seems to me now. Because if I could go back and say to that idiot, like, okay, yeah, you're really into green, you're really into white, you're really into oolongs, you're into all of that stuff, but hold back on the purchasing of those teas, you know. Great, yeah. Sample a little bit, hold back. Because the great Himalayan mountains of Sheng and Shu are awaiting. And when you start climbing those, you're going to really want to dedicate yourself to those. And that's kind of how I'm feeling at the moment with regard to Sheng and Shu. I really am feeling this sense of like, this is it. And oh man, this really is it. And, you know, if you hang out with a lot of tea heads, and I only know a few, but certainly when I go into Mayleaf in Camden Town and I see what the baristas are brewing behind the counter for themselves, it's always Sheng and Shu. They're not fooling around on the, on the lower hills of the whites and the greens and even the oolongs. That's like, yeah, that's lovely. We'll crack them. We'll crack one of those open now and again. But in terms of like our hardcore tea drinking addiction, Sheng and Shu, baby, Sheng and Shu. It's like the the crack cocaine and heroin of the tea world.
I buried those cockroaches. What do they ever do for us?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's the 10 crack commandments.
And for a very good reason. Because once you've developed the taste, man, it's good.
Clips at these cats for they bricks and chips. Up number 4. Know you heard this before.
Don't get high on your own supply.
So here are my tasting notes for this, which I think I definitely will be coming back for more. Loving it. Plum, smoky, woody, moss-covered rocks, vegetal sharpness, dried apricot, a kind of a raw sugar cane. Faint but pleasing bitterness. I really like that. I actually like the bitterness. Beautiful inclusion of the bitterness. Of my teapot family that I'm sort of, tried the Sheng out, I found that probably the best match so far is the Jianshui pot. I've tried it with a Nishing and a Chaozu. I haven't actually tried it with my little Zisha guy one. But anyway, this is what I'm getting so far. But I still feel that it brews best just in a simple guy one. So, and it's definitely got a kind of buzzy, yeah, it's got a real buzzy vibe to it.
Crack King, Frank Wizard.
4, 5. 1, 2, 3.
Gorgeous. So today's question for the Yi comes from my ongoing joys. I mean, 3 years worth of, joys on this platform since my last relationship. The ongoing joys of the Hinge Sushi Belt, as I like to call it. And I think the last few days on the Hinge Sushi Belt is really, it's really just like the perfect example of how this mechanism works. So, I match with Beth. Now, Beth is somewhat rare, I would say, on Hinge. In other words, this is a woman who is interested in nature and hiking and spirituality and the Enneagram. God, yeah, believe it or not, yeah, there are other people interested in this thing other than me, and psychology and all of these, groovy things. She's in her sort of mid-40s, so, a good age match, I guess. She's 5 foot something, so she's not going to find my average height a turn-off necessarily, although I have met women who are 5 foot and still can only feel attraction towards a guy who is, 6 feet or other. They have to have that. They have to have that level of height between them to get something moving in their nether regions. So yeah, Beth and I make contact. Beth is in Berlin at the moment because she's doing some tour guide stuff. So that all seems to match up nicely. She's not a CEO of a FTSE 100 firm who's going to have no interest whatsoever in a mid-range, mid-priced, mid-career idiot like me. And so we swap a couple of short voice notes. I ask her about Berlin and mention that, one of my main associations with Berlin is Nanashan, Gabriele Nanashan Tea House, and ask her if she's into teas. And I think we maybe exchange all of 2 messages of a minute or so in length. And the first exchange feels very enjoyable and has a good vibe to it, I guess. It's like drinking a good tea. It just has a good vibe. And then the idiot wakes up on a Saturday morning and goes, I wonder if Beth has sent a message, and Beth is unmatched. And then, of course, it's like, what did I do wrong? What did I say? I only just mentioned tea. And like, what's your Enneagram style? Where did the idiot go wrong?
Number 1 to me, if you ain't getting back, stay the fuck from police.
So that's a good question for the Yi, right? And what I drew, I'm back to throwing coins again because I spoke to Harmon this week, and he reminded me of the importance of coin throwing, although I do love these cards as well. But the coin throws generated this hexagram 11 harmony, which at first you might go, ooh, there's not much harmony here. But harmony is an interesting one because harmony has earth above, sky below. Earth above, heaven below. And the idea, which you'll see when I post my Harmon chats, because we recorded a really wonderful discussion this week. The idea is that the lower trigram, in this case heaven, sort of represents the idiot, and in this case the upper trigram would represent earth, which would represent Beth. The idiot, as we know, is this kind of like, idealistic, romantic fool, and but Beth has her feet on the ground, and I would also say, although Beth did not reveal her Enneagram type, I would say that she's probably one of those 3 types that have their feet very much on the ground of the 9 personality types, and that is type 8, 9, and 1. So how does harmony come, we might say, from what could seem like 2 kind of oppositional trigrams, heaven and earth, right? They are made of very different elements. Well, this is where we need to bring in the wise ones, folks. And by the wise ones, at least the ones who are wiser than this idiot, I'm of course talking about my beloved OT and the Gospel of OT, as I now like to call it, which of course is OT's book, The Value of Others. So how would OT come at this if OT was delivering this divination? Okay, let's give that a go. Okay, so the sexual marketplace, no surprise, as we know, is a game, right? And relationships, according to OT, are transactions of value within the sexual marketplace. Each party, in this case, myself and Beth, assess the other's perceived value based on a range of factors, including lifestyle, shared interests, perceived future compatibility, etc., etc. And in the idiot's case, Beth's initial interest, voiced through a personal message, and shared affinities like the Enneagram and, hiking, suggests that she initially perceived value in engaging further with the idiot. However, Taraband's model stresses, and this is why I love him, thank God for UAT, he stresses that these evaluations, he reminds us, we know this, but he reminds us that these evaluations are dynamic and subject to constant reassessment. In the information asymmetry that he highlights in his captain-passenger metaphor, the imbalance here comes from how much each person reveals about themselves, right? So the captain, the person taking the lead, traditionally the man, displays their values such as lifestyle, direction, and competence, while the passenger, traditionally the woman, inspects this offering to decide if they want to commit to the journey. So Beth's behavior fits the passenger role in OT's paradigm. By sending an initial positive message, she's still essentially gathering information, expecting the ship, me, the idiot, and determining if he aligns with her desires for a captain. Her holding back on her own details while probing his, which is very common, exemplifies the power dynamic of information asymmetry, where the passenger evaluates while the captain presents. The evaluation process is part of the broader negotiations that OT outlines, where passengers test compatibility before making a commitment, even a commitment to send another frickin' message. The shift from engagement to unmatching likely reflects, therefore, a recalibration of Beth's unconscious valuation, assessing whether, continuing the interaction offered her the perceived best options in that moment. The swift nature of the unmatch, like one day talking, next day not, possibly reflects this shift in perceived value based on something that occurred, after our initial interactions began. Maybe, someone else came up on the app that she liked, which, understandably, this higher value option in the context of the marketplace doesn't reflect any deficiency in the idiot, OT would say, right? But it's just simply that the opportunity cost she associates with continuing an interaction with the idiot doesn't work. So OT would explain that people follow their best options. Maybe she saw another route or route, if you're Americans, another captain more aligned to her evolving goals, leading to a recalibration of her approach. So, rather than seeing this as flaky, as the idiot would see, OT's framework would highlight that people often unmatch when they feel they have gathered enough data to make an informed decision. In this context, flakiness could be a reflection of Beth adjusting her own goals or realizing that something in the interaction didn't really align with her preferences, possibly related to what she valued most at the time, whether it's lifestyle, location, shared ambition, etc., etc. Her initial engagement might have been, was exploratory, and once she reached a point where she felt she had clarity on this, she acted accordingly, unmatching. So, as Taraban, as OT suggests, much of our dating behavior is driven by unconscious evaluations. Beth made all of her decisions based on subtle cues, perhaps something in the content or tone of our, brief conversations that led her to a perceived mismatch. Understandably, right? I've got 150 followers. I haven't got 15 million followers. Something's not working. The covert calculator, we could say, steps in. Those little imperceptible signals that can trigger reassessments leading to a decision that might seem arbitrary or sudden, but are, as the universe will have it. In essence, OT and the Yi suggests that Beth's unmatch is not inherently personal, but simply a reflection of her shifting priorities or perceived value within this dynamic marketplace. It's the Tao, dudes. Less about flakiness, more about realigning with her best perceived options at that moment. And this seems to be backed up by Hexagram 11, whose judgment goes something like this. Peace. The small departs, the great approaches, good fortune, success, l'chaim. In my interactions with Beth, receiving Hexagram 11 really suggests that while the immediate situation may feel like a little bit of a setback, it always does, this kind of unmatching business, actually it's part of a larger movement towards peace and balance in the idiot's dating life, or just in the idiot's life in general. In my interactions with Beth, receiving Hexagram 11 suggests that while the immediate situation may feel like a setback, this is actually part of a much larger movement towards peace and balance and all good things. Hallelujah. It's tough though. It's tough for our idiots to keep our heads straight when we're stuck in the grind of all of this bullshit. You know how it goes if you're in the grind, right? Approach, setback, approach, setback. It's like a never-ending loop of bullshit. But that's how the sexual marketplace works. And if we're not ready to face the bullshit, to face the nonsense, we will get wiped out, especially, unfortunately, especially if you're a guy. Because let's face it, women have more of the upper hand in this game. I mean, that's the dirty secret that no one wants to talk about other than people like OT, but they do. Women call the shots here. And figuring out how to navigate that can feel like trying to climb the mountain and not the Shang and the Shub mountain. The only way to deal with this is to sell the romantic lines, but also know the game that we're playing, one that is driven by psychological and behavioral economics. Do the sweet talk, do the compliments, all of that good stuff. I mean, men have been playing this game for hundreds of thousands of years, right? But it's actually about the real stuff. It's about value exchange, it's about perception, it's about scarcity. If we can't figure out how to play by those rules, we're just, fucked. Harmony, Hexagram 11 reminds us, is to take those setbacks, to take those frustrations as part of the natural ebb and flow, where the small departs, not saying that Beth is small, small fry, to make way for something greater, and not saying that that greater is even another person. The small, let's say Beth's departure, the feeling of confusion, clearing the way here for something greater to approach. Maybe a relationship, you know, a sort of transactional exchange of values between one idiot and another that aligns more harmoniously with both idiots' values and goals, but maybe not. Hexagram 11 advises, as the year often does, patience, trust in the larger process as the forces at play are working to bring about this more stable and beneficial outcome. Even if it feels frustrating, it really does, or unclear in this moment. We might say that the ye views Beth's unmatch not as a rejection, but as part of this natural filtering process that's, you know, moving the idiot closer either to a better fit or at least greater peace and harmony with this process. And the wonderful thing about tea, particularly a gorgeous Bing Dao, Shang, Pu'er tea like this, is that tea also says, when it touches our lips, it says, you want more than this? You want more than this? Oh, you fool. You hopelessly deluded fool.